Well, naturally, they all put the fire down to faulty wiring, but I know what I saw. There was a man, I can see him now, he was stealing across the hallway.
How would you describe him, Ruth?
Wicked. Quite wicked.
I see.
Of course, Carrie Louise says that I dreamed it all, but then my sister never had any time for unpalatable truths. Do you think anyone could possibly guess, Jane, that you and I are practically the same age?
Not for a moment, I'm sure. I'm afraid, you see, I look every minute of my age.
No.
When was it, this fire?
About 6 weeks ago. I'd just flown in from New York for a meeting of the trustees.
Well, surely Carrie Louise's husband must have seen something.
Lewis has eyes only for his dear wife and her blessed cause.
Oh, she's still keeping up with her causes.
Does the sun rise in the morning? Naturally, such a thing is fashionable when one is a young girl.
I was going to nurse lepers, and you were off to be a nun, I believe.
Yes, quite possibly, but marriage knocks sense into one, and God knows, Carrie Louise has had plenty of practice ever since she threw herself at that Nordic lump.
Her first husband, Mr. Gould Bronson, he was something of a philanthropist, wasn't he?
And 2 husbands later, she is still living off his inheritance. And she has surpassed herself with this latest cause. Criminals.
Oh?
She imagines she can do something with them. So there they all are, all living it up in some so-called reform facility at the bottom of her garden.
Gracious. And this is what you're afraid of?
Jane, I don't know. All the time I was with her, I felt this presence around her, and then that fire in her study. All of her memories burnt to ashes. Someone in that house wishes my sister harm. I dare say this all sounds quite mad to you.
Oh, no.
You believe me?
I trust your conviction.
Nothing's ever surprised you, has it, Jane? Because you always think the worst.
The worst is so often true.
Then you'll go as soon as you can? Do you remember how she and Gould Bronson longed for a child of their own?
Didn't they adopt in the end? I think I met the child. Very pretty girl.
Yes, Gina. A bewitching little thing. Then, as so often happens, not long after, Carrie Louise found herself pregnant. Now, normally it's hard lines on the adopted child, but not in their case. Carrie Louise was so anxious to make no difference between the two that when Mildred came along, if anything, she tended to overindulge little Gina, while her natural child was left to fend for itself. Huh. Poor Mildred. She never stood a chance.
Hello. Oh, hello. Oh, what a nice string bag. You must be...
The next train on platform 1 is the 4:50 from Paddington. All stations to Little...
I said you must be Aunt Jane.
Then you must be Gina.
How did you guess? Don't answer that. Come on.
This must be the famous facility.
Where Mummy keeps her young men. Incorrigible.
Who, dear?
Why, them, of course.
Oh.
Mummy.
Jane. Dear Carrie Louise. How are you? The flesh is weak, but the spirit's as stubborn as ever. Would you take tea? I always have mine standing up, otherwise one would sit around forever, don't you think? Allow me to introduce Lewis, treasured husband and chief of my tribe.
How do you do?
Amateur dramatics. Things we do for love.
I think you look quite fierce.
Oh.
Don't you, dear?
I have no head for such matters.
My daughter, Mildred.
How very nice to meet you after all this long while.
Likewise.
I've put Miss Marple in the Fabian suite, Mum.
Good thinking. Jane, this is Juliet Belliver, who's simply everything to me. Nurse, dragon, watchdog, and very faithful friend.
Jolly, what's for dinner? I'm starved.
As Mr. Kellogg has proven, an excess of protein in the diet excites all the wrong instincts, amongst those of a criminal bent. We find barley an excellent substitute. Isn't that so, Dr. Maverick?
Indeed.
For what we are about to receive, may the Lord make us truly thankful. And may He, in His wisdom, remind us that without these and all His gifts, we are like a rudderless ship.
Oh, dear.
Doomed
She's
to...
on fire tonight.
doomed to perish upon the rocks.
Amen. Thank you, dear. Vividly put. I like us all to eat together once a week. I want all my charges to feel they're like part of the family.
And so we do, my dear.
Is it?
Just slur up my little character.
They make a splendid couple.
I should hope not.
That's my stepson, Stephen Restrick, by my second husband, Johnny, the theater producer.
Of course he is.
All manner of waifs and strays under this roof.
Everyone's allowed the odd error of judgment. Dad was yours, isn't that right, darling?
Stop it, you're making my mother sound quite
Well,
fast.
so she is. A couple more divorces, I shall have all her exes carved into the rock like Mount Rushmore.
Not quite a laughing matter.
Stephen has made himself indispensable to my wife's dramatic review.
Carrie Louise likes me to stage a show for her every year. It's a morale booster